You're already getting knocks, aren't you? All right. We are live? No.
And coming up and should
Mm.
see. Yes, there we are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Snowbirds Meeting Room Weekly Podcast. I'm Shadow Spectre 11. I'm here with Zook Zemami and King Pain.
Greetings.
Forgive the weird graphics this evening. For some reason, every time I try to set up something like this, it craps out on me. Um, decided to go with something else. Do our Discord through our podcast channel, and here we are. So I will be working on this issue, but we're just going with this one tonight. So King Payne is leading it, and take it away, sir.
All right. I hope everybody's having a good Monday. I know I didn't have my job. We had a massive outage today, and I'm like, 6 hours worth. Entire platform went down. So it's like, wow. Um, I'll be running the hosting tonight. If you got questions, make sure you type question in big bold letters and question after. Once in a while, we'll peek down and take a gander. So, first things first, ship of the week. As a reminder, ship of the week is looking at a collection or a series of ships that, as we move up the ladder, what we do is we talk about them, their advantages, disadvantages, stuff like that. We've covered several of the starter ships so far. We are now at the 65 USD dollar level and up, which means that we are at the Reliant series. This is the first ship with MISC that we will be covering. So, um, you'll Star Wars fans will notice something particular about some of the ships inside Star Citizen, and one of those is the Reliant. It is oddly familiar and acts very much like a B-wing. For those who don't know what a B-wing is, it's a ship that rotates around the cockpit, basically. It is a pretty cool little ship, especially if you're just getting into the game and you want something like just zippy and fast and to explore and do small troubleshooting, small transport stuff and trading stuff. So the first ship in the series that we're going to talk about is the Reliant Core, uh, by MISC. Just double check real quick. Do you guys hear background noise to me?
Mm-mm.
Very little.
Can't tell what it is. You can hear me just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So for the audience, my wife is hard of hearing, deaf, so she has a loud TV, so that's why. So yeah, the first ship we're going to look at here is the Reliant series. There are what, four? I think four.
Yeah, I believe so.
I thought five, but it's either one of those two.
Yeah, I just see four.
Okay.
So the idea behind the core is fast transport stuff, say from surface to station, kind of like the Hull A, surface to station. And the difference between the two is the Hull A only does transport. That's its entire job. External transport, like large containers and stuff like that. Whereas a Reliant Core is for like small containers of stuff. So like a couple of things needs to be moved, or an object like a bike needs to be moved. Good luck getting into the back of the core. Um, um, these are all flight ready. Don't you argue with me, young lady. Go to mom. Sorry, dog. um, yeah. So the interesting thing is the core is actually the fastest of the four. It's at 220 meters per second
Mm-hmm.
when master modes goes online, so it'll be quick little zipper zapper. It's a one-person ship, but you can have two people on it. And the core is the starter / light freight ship that they have. The next one in the line, and this is the only one with SCU, by the way. The core is the only one with SCU. Every other one of them does not have SCU to it, which makes me question why aren't there beds in the back of the other ones. We'll get to that later. Then you have a Mako, which is labeled as reporting. So I think in lore, what they do is the Makos are used for say, in-universe replacements for like helicopters.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But how is that going to be used in? So this is the one ship that I have always had a big question mark over. That I am very confused as far as what its purpose is.
Yeah,
Like I said, like the light maker is listed as reporting. Uh, so what is that? Is that like a data running type of situation? Is that
yeah. So I question that too. I wonder if this is like a placeholder ship for maybe reporting could be like if you're in a business and you're just using like a business is just using Makos to transport people around. I mean, but then you got the MPV cargo, right?
yeah?
Like,
I mean, they have the light fighter version. They have the cargo space one. They have the light science one, which is going to be really interesting. That's
yeah,
its own question, right? But that could be very, very similar to exploring, right?
mm-hmm.
But this
Yep.
one's specifically not data running, reporting.
Reporting. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. And I don't think CIG's ever talked about this. And this is I think one of the few ships in the entire gambit of ships that has a unique identifier applied to it. So I would argue that it really needs to be changed to light data running. I think that's what it really needs to be changed to. The description of the Mako is the Empire depends on up to second information, which is why reporters need to be able to go where the news is happening. Wherever, whenever, enter the Mako, all the flexibility and dependability of a MISC Reliant, combined with the state-of-the-art image enhancement suite and turret-mounted optics to capture every moment as it happens with clarity. So I don't know. Maybe it's also one of those things where they made a ship for creators to use optics to make cool scenes in the game or something. I don't know. I'm just, I don't know for sure. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's what they were thinking when they made it. But I'm at a point in my mind where I don't think that ship's ever going to see the utility that it was designed for. I think it needs to be switched over to a data running ship.
I mean, the one thing I can think of is maybe you do like as far as the end game, you have a mission where you pick up an NPC. It's a weird mixture of like passenger and data running, where you're picking up a specific NPC, a uh, a high value NPC, and you go there and start reporting on something and get back safely. Like, I guess that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a big question mark over that. That I don't think it's been. I think it's been several years since CIG's talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the
Well,
other two are.
I do have
Oh,
one thing to say.
what's up?
Sorry. Board Gamer
No, you're.
has that ship,
Mhm.
okay? And he says that it's used for reporting where you can record things like say you're in Jumptown and you want to record Jumptown as an event as a reporter if you don't get shot. Okay? So, it would be interesting to know if it would work like that. I don't know.
I don't know either. It's. I don't know. I'm hesitant to believe that it's actually something that is worth like reporting as anything at all. Because like,
Yeah,
what's it gonna do? Like, you're just gonna be a lump on the log to be shot at.
exactly.
People aren't nice. It's like they're going to shoot at you if you're trying to report.
Yeah. So I
So
don't know. We'll see.
yeah, I think the other thing is, um, I hope they just change it to a data running, like a small data running ship. I think this may be a series of ships that they may come back to and go, you know what? Let's change, let's change this and overhaul it. Yeah, and Mello actually says surveillance ship. Well, I agree with you, but the problem is it's labeled as reporting, not
Data
as like
running.
surveillance or data running or surveillance. I think if they change it to surveillance and actually put surveillance gameplay in there, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying,
Also, keep in mind that these ships are really due for
Overalls.
overhauls, a makeover, a gold pass rating. Like there's a lot of stuff like the Pisces got this past 3.17.14 patch. Uh, the entire line needs. So it may just be the fact that they intend to clarify that. It just
Yeah.
they're not gonna do so until they get around to it.
Well,
Yeah.
the one thing about the Pisces, when the variant was coming out, right? A lot of people couldn't get in the ship because they changed the interface to enter the ship. And until the C8R came out, nobody could get in. Nobody could get in the Pisces.
That's true.
So
Um,
I mean, it was just funny to me. I kind of laughed about it because I never used it, and then all of a sudden, people were saying, "Well, I can't get in my Pisces." Like,
I think that was a more localized bug. I don't think that was like I don't think that was blanket across the board.
I don't
Uh,
know.
one of my org, one of my org mates did have that happen to. It was a bug. Something about how it got stowed and then it came out, it got messed up.
Uh
I
huh.
had my own Pisces. That never happened to me.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I think there was an issue there,
Yeah.
but I think it did get resolved.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast, Melopan. Appreciate you coming by.
Yep.
Okay.
So the last two are the Sin and the Tana. The Sin is a science ship, and science isn't in a game yet, but its description basically is a versatile mobile science platform outfitted with long-range capabilities to take you further longer in an advanced sensor suite. Perfect for the aspiring explorer who wants to whisper their name into the halls of history. Um, so basically a censorship. Ha! See what I did there? Anyway.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think
very
that'd be
very
cool.
very exploration type of.
Very discovery, very learning about like things that they come across. I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
I've
Um,
never touched any of the Reliance ships, and I can't say from experience what they are or how they fly or anything like that. So it's kind of it's something where I got to put my hands on it.
yeah, it's not a bad ship. It's actually pretty fun to fly. It's very mobile, and if you want to just use it to go fly around in and like quickly get around a surface, it's
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Okay,
Um,
so a quick hop ship.
quick option.
Okay.
I would say it'd be a great shuttle, but
I would say it's kind of overdoing it for a quick hot ship. To be honest with you, uh, just the fact that it has such a wide profile, it sits two, and has large space in the background. It would be a little bit overdone for Hopper, but it's not a bad one.
yeah,
Okay.
A little bit overpriced for Hopper.
yeah. And the thing we got to remember is this was like one of their first ships they designed too. So
Mhm.
Excuse me.
I think the Reliant really needs to have a makeover. I think I think they redo the design. Like in my opinion, I think they at the end of after they get all the other stuff out, they go back to this and go, you know what, this ain't right. Let's fix this.
What
Maybe
can
they
they
can
do with
fix.
it though?
Well, we can keep the center module right. Make it more in line with what a misc ship looks like. Um, you could make it a dual seater with a bubble face, but you could also just make it more look like a smaller version of a freelancer,
Mm-hmm.
maybe with some characteristics of a hull.
Okay.
But get rid of the folding wing, or have it come out different. Sassy.
No, I don't know how much you could really do with it. Like it has the same bubble shield as bubble windshield that the Spanx is going to have, that it's working on. The folding wings is sort of its niche, its gimmick, if you will.
Uh huh.
Um, a lot of its systems are out on those wings. It's not internal to the main cabin itself. Uh, there's not much space to work with on board. Uh, I think the main thing that it could use is it could use a detailed pass, where exactly the system's going to go, make them
Mm-hmm.
physicalized, and it
Yeah.
could use the detailed pass as far as like clarifying of what their roles are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that might not come until the exploration game loops in the game. So it may be many years before we see that properly.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. I think what they would, if they don't change the physical like shape of it, like the wings and all that stuff, they can keep it. That's fine. What they should do is the physicalized components have stations in the back of the ship, what they're dedicated to do. So, like maybe a science station in the back of the ship.
They have that now.
Hmm.
They have the Reliant the recording one has a little console thing where you can supposedly control a camera, and the Silence one has a little station to control sensor suites, and
Yeah.
like they have the places in the back now for that kind of a role. Uh, we'll have to see how they're being used. Uh, Again, those gameplay blues don't exist. The chairs exist in the back of the ship.
Right.
The
Right.
gameplay
Well,
does not.
what I'm saying, like this is what I'm saying though, is like the physicalization of it, what you're talking about. Ship the everything gets integrated to it. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Gotcha.
um, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the last one's a fighter. I don't know how you would change that anyway. Like, I don't know how you would, what you would do in the back end. Maybe missiles. Maybe like there's missile bay in there or something. But
Well, isn't that the Reliant Core?
China. The core
Tana.
is the transport. Yeah.
Okay.
Overall, though, my personal opinions, I don't really have a negative opinion about this ship. I think it's fine if you're running low in money in game and you just need something to do, fly around. That's fine, but I would not go out of my way to get the ship. That's my opinion on it.
Okay.
The one thing I want to note here is uh, the vague term utility item.
Yeah.
Right? It has a single size 4 utility item available for the cargo variant. Uh, I've seen a lot of things fit into that utility item. Tractor beam, mining laser.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a utility slot that is going to be more universal for things that might be more plug and play. That might make it more useful for something.
Hmm.
We don't know. It it specifically says in its size 4 utility slot. So it sounds like a good chunk of this ship is designed for you make it your own to some degree.
Yeah.
You make your own adventure type of situation.
Uh huh.
So we'll have to see.
Right. Okay. I'm good
Yeah.
on the subject.
Yeah, I don't have
Okay.
much more to say about it. I mean, if anybody in the chat wants to chime up about it, that's fine. But yeah, moving on. Moving on. So let's hit up with our next topic. If nobody else has anything to say about that.
I'm
Hey, you know
open.
what? It's not an Aurora.
Not LTI recommended.
Not LTR. Right.
Okay. Next subject.
So, next subject is a
Oh,
kind of an
jacked.
abstract,
Jacked.
yeah, kind of an abstract situation here. So you will find a couple of types of players inside of the PO, and we can delineate these people by old and new backers. So Shadow made the suggestion of identifying old backers as people who've been around since 2015 or older. I would argue you can make it 2018 and older because it's kind of about the same grouping of people you can consider. And you can go further that it's not just it's not just age, but more or less perception. And so what the real subject is perspective that these backers have. In general, the older backers have become a little frustrated, we'll say, about everything. They've been around so long that they're waiting on items, a lot of them for a decade for something. See Endeavor, see Bane and Merchantman, see other things like that. See, server meshing. You newer backers haven't quite are still kind of looking at Star Citizen through what's the term? Rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, rose-colored glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, they still see Star Citizen through that, and they don't know the weight game that they're in for. Well, at least a lot of them don't. And I imagine as time goes on, that 2018 year, you're going to tick up 1 year every year, and I think majority of the backers that are behind that line are going to end up becoming more bitter, for lack of a better term. And so the argument that I heard earlier was basically that these older backers are getting frustrated to the point, and that frustration is being pushed on to new backers. And newer backers are starting to get frustrated at the older backers because they're tired of, let's call it spade, having their parade rained on. Now, I'm going to preface this whole conversation with, we're a community, and the best thing that we can do for each other is help each other and talk to each other. I'm an older backer. Yeah, I am frustrated at some things. I know Zook's frustrated at some things. I remember his tirade about a specific letter a couple months ago. But at the same time, I don't put my frustration out on newer players. Like, if a newer player accidentally blows up my ship, whatever, it's just an alpha. I don't care. It's fine. Life moves on. And if I don't want to play the game anymore, I just take a break. And I think that's the greatest gift you can give yourself. 4-star citizen, a break. So, let's take it to Zook. Zook, I want to know your feelings on this whole subject of old backers, new backers, and the frustration that's going on between these two lines.
I mean, I am concierge, of course, and I've been on the concierge forums talking with people who've been, because I like other perspectives, people who's been concierge and even the gratis for a long time now, right? And my experience is there really isn't that much of a difference, to be completely honest with you. There are individuals who are salty, but the only difference between that is basically what is the level it takes for you to be salty, right? Yeah. I've had conversations with people who purchased one of the new Xeon ships,
Sentakai. Yeah.
And it was supposed to have been worked on, and then it was pushed back, and that just frustrated them so much that they got really salty about it to screw it and just left. Like, got the money back, screw that, got another ship, and then just stopped playing for a while. I've had conversations with backers who've put $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 into the game, and it's very comfortable. They're very happy. They wish it would go faster, but they're not salty in the sense that they hate CIG, they hate other players, they hate the game. I think there are some people who want to blame newer donors for allowing CIG to, as they see it, continue their sales pitch and not actually developing the game. And a lot of newer players are just sitting there saying, this is when we want to get in. This is when we want to play. This is, my money. And I don't think it's a situation where a lot of these players are actively going after these newer players personally. I don't think it's that at all. I wouldn't characterize it as that.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's just people being salty at CIG. And I think this really showed when the Galaxy was released for concept. I think that's probably where the latest version of it was sourced. And with the latest version of this Scorpius, right? Uh, I, I, I honestly, that's just noise. There's not that much going on, and I really ignore most of it. I see it, mind you. It's not like I'm blind to it, but I ignore most of it because most of it is just people venting frustration and then moving on with their lives.
Good points.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that's fair to say though to kind of back into the earlier part of your conversation. That's not necessarily how long they've been playing it, even though it's more prevalent in the older backers. It's more or less at the level of frustration they reach is before they kind of start getting more salty towards the project. Fair enough. You spend your money
What
on
is
something.
what is the bridge too far for you individually, and that's different for every person.
Absolutely. I think the money that I put in, I made some great friends along the way, and that's worth the money for me.
Agreed.
It's like us going out to a bar, sharing a pizza or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Shadow, your take. What's up?
Mm, I haven't been in the game as long as you or Zook or even
Mm-hmm.
Joe. Okay. I'm a year and a couple months in. I am more than happy with what I've gotten so far. Um, there were some things that, yes, they frustrated me. Um, but still, being with being a new player and a new person into the game at a point where I still have rose colored glasses. But I'm happy because I've got something that I've always wanted to do in my life as a kid. And it's my dream. And I live that dream every time I step out of that bed and I go to the ship, go and do what I want, have a little FPS combat once in a while, go mining, go and do other things, and feel um, elated that I can actually do this. So it gives me a joy every day when I log in every day to live my dream. And I'm happy with it. I know that things are coming. They take time. I don't rush it. When something comes out, I'm excited. But I hold my expectations back because I don't want to get jerked, or jacked on it. And it makes me feel more
Mm-hmm.
comfortable to keep the expectations low. There are some things, yeah, this one thing that I didn't realize that kind of upset me. And Mike and I talked about this just before the podcast. It took a whole year to put a move button in, a move all button into inventory. That doesn't make any sense. But it's there. It's coming in 318.
So what would be your move? Well, sorry, what would your bridge too far?
What would be
Like,
my
what would
bridge too far?
if CID did X, whatever it is, right? That would be the point where you'd feel like you wasted your money, and you'd be salty.
I don't think I'd be that way because I'm patient enough to just chill out and just play it for what it is.
What about you, Payne?
I think that two thoughts here. And it may not be a direct answer to your question, but two thoughts. I think because I'm in a unique scenario and with my career, that I have a bit different perspective of how things are done. So I'm a little more patient, I think, than most a lot of people.
As a game dev, you mean?
Yeah, that's a game day. There's my slogan. um,
I'm just going to say it.
yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I'm a game dev. Yeah.
Right?
But yeah. I just have a little more patience because I understand that how much work goes in behind quite a bit of the setup and the programming. Because I mean, like, look, you can program something perfect, but you think you did, but when you put it into practice, it doesn't work the way you think it did. Like, for example, you could program a door to close, but you accidentally programmed it to rotate instead because you had a moment of autopilot and you just flapping the keyboard until you got it right. And so, even though the code checks out, it doesn't mean the code's correct. That's a big thing. Um, so there's that perspective. My other perspective is my level of saltiness will happen on occasion when it's small mistakes that I know that they could have done better. That's my big one. So, like, I think, even though I get outragey about something, I kind of walk away from it a little bit and calm down a bit. So, I think what was the one thing that I think I'm frustrated with is the invisible elevators. I think really irritated the living snot out of the entire community, including me. Um, or clipping through the ground. Like, for why is it when I put a Connie down and I'm dragging Shadow's body onto the platform that I fall through the planet?
Yeah. And that happened to us.
Yeah, exactly. That's things like that frustrate me. When it happens once, I let it go because I know it'll happen. But when it happened, like, what is it? I came out 3 times to get you.
Yeah.
And every single time I slipped through the planet.
Yeah. That gets old.
That gets old quick.
Yeah.
So my saltiness level is if it's a repeatable thing over several patches. And it's independent things that I think should be fixed immediately. That makes the player experience better. I like you tell me that, like, the whole PES and the server meshing and all that stuff, and everybody's like, "Why isn't it out 2 years ago?" It's a new technology. They got to bake it. They got to make it right. But if you're talking about flipping through a planet, yeah, that is irritating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It is. Yeah. One thing that we've encountered with the crime stat for bumping into your own vehicle, that doesn't make any sense. You know? And supposedly this is going to be alleviated in 318. So hopefully it comes to fruition.
You don't remember getting the crime stats for bumping into your own body?
Yeah, there's that.
I've never had that.
I've had that. Oh, crime stat when you land on Porto when you were allowed to?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Those I don't know. You guys know about those.
Okay, I can tell you something I'm salty on right now. That nobody's gone back and looked at server. Nobody's talked about it. Looking at server-side object container streaming. Nobody's talked about going back and looking at that because there's been enough data. There's been enough data at this point that they could identify problems with it, and I've seen nothing about it. And I mean, I honestly believe 90% of our desync is from socks. Not the kind that goes on your feet, but server-side object container streaming. So
whenever that type of issues get brought up, like you guys are bringing those issues up about falling through planets and then the like, I think a lot of it goes back to SOX, but I'm not a dev, so I'm not part of CIB, so that's just me guessing. Mm-hmm. I do see from a project-oriented view, a lot of that's temporary, not finalized code. And is it worth spending their manpower and time to go back and troubleshoot code that works 95% of the time? And that 5% is very, very frustrating, mind you. Mm-hmm. But if it works 5% of the time, it's not game breaking. Is it worth them taking the manpower, going back and fixing it, especially if it's just temporary code anyways?
Well, the counter to that is the SOX code was basically finalized when it was put in. And so I don't think it's SOX necessarily, but rather the streaming.
Oh, you sure?
And 100% no. Pretty confident. I would say 80% confident that it was finalized. But that doesn't mean that it's like with the whole mining thing. They went back and fixed things. It doesn't mean you can't go back and make it better.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't go back and fix problems. The reason I believe that they need to fix it, or even after, like if they did Pez and server meshing and then went back and fix it, I'm cool. Like I'm not saying stop what you're doing and go and fix it. I'm saying make it a priority and put it in line to get it fixed. And the reason why you want socks looked at again and fixed is um, it can be masking problems that exist in other systems because of the behavior, because of the side effects of what's happening. So, for instance, um, when you're walking, like say when you're flying and you're desyncing, what socks is supposed to do is whatever object is being streamed into the server um, from the server side. Okay, this is the server side, not down here. This server has to be in sync with the world, and if it's not, and it loses time or lags just enough, in game it can look like a rubber band effect, or you look like you're this far apart, but you're actually like this. So there is those kinds of problems. Persistent energy streaming could probably do that too. But if your socks and persistent energy streaming is doing it and you're troubleshooting and all you see is the same thing, no matter what you do to fix it, the good possibility is that if you eliminate 50% of your problems, you can then focus on another source of problems.
See,
So,
my understanding, and I could be horrifically wrong on this one. So,
mm,
this just my understanding. I forget where I got this from, but
sure.
you know, uh, big caveat there. Uh, they're waiting on silver meshing to do this, and my understanding was they waited for silver meshing to determine how they were going to be handling who and what server was controlling what type of streaming in,
Mm-hmm.
and the current SOC setup was still temporary code that was placeholder to get the rest of it in. Uh, and so my understanding was a lot of that was, hey, once we get server meshing in, and especially once we get dynamic server meshing in, that's when they would finalize the SOC code. That was my understanding.
So let's make sure that we all understand what SOX is, because I think that SOX is not temporary. It's a permanent structure on the back end. It interfaces with PES. So entities and objects are two different things.
Yeah, so the saying not the final. I'm not saying that SOX is temporary technology. The code they used to do
Oh,
it
I
was
see what you're saying.
temporary.
The
So
the yeah
like for example, the old database system we were using to manage items, where what items were stored on what ship, when you
Bcache.
store when you streamed the entity the ship out of existence,
Yeah,
the technology they used to store the ship in its state
yeah, yeah,
was always temporary, right?
yeah, yeah.
It was always going to be PES, persistent entity streaming, was going to be
Mm,
handling that.
yes,
It was not until persistent entity streaming that technology was finalized, so they never went back and troubleshooted a lot of the bugs that the old system had because it was known to be temporary anyways, right? Where now they have PES, it's supposed to be the final version of that code, and they're spending a lot of time troubleshooting it, getting it good.
yeah.
And that's
Like I
And
my
said,
understanding of SOC.
I'm gonna say it.
like
I'm happy that they're doing it. I'm happy
well,
that they're taking their time and working on it. You know,
yeah.
just saying.
So yeah,
You
you're
were
fine.
saying something about SOCs thing?
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, it'll I'm fine with it if it happens after everything. Like even if they like did the inverse of that and got the PEZ stuff working and then got to that later. I just really think that a lot of our desync issues are because of socks. Because our biggest lag issues happened when socks was put into the game. And this is
Well,
hypothesis. I have no evidence. This is just how I see it. That's it.
can I say
So
something really quickly?
yeah.
Sorry to interject, Mike. I don't mean to
Mm-hmm.
cut you off, but I was doing a mission with a couple people
Mm-hmm.
on Orson platforms, and
Yeah.
excuse me, we were going on to take care of a mission, and all of a sudden there were AI in front of us, and then all of a sudden we got shot in the back. The desync was so bad that it was totally unplayable. And does that have to deal with socks?
Nah, well, see, that's hard because it could and it couldn't.
Probably not
Because
directly.
yeah, probably not directly. It could slow it could slow down how socks gives things. But remember, socks is objects, not entities. So that's the big thing you gotta remember. So an object container is like a level building block, basically. Like so, a floor, wall, stuff like that,
Yeah,
serialized stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Because
whereas,
they came through the elevator behind us, but there was AI in front of us, and I had shot one and it didn't fall, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden we got blasted. So you see what I'm talking about now?
yeah, but what's really hard there is that could just be simple like network lag in general, a
Okay.
desync, tick rate mismatch. Like it could be that too. What's hard is like I don't see their logging. I don't know like
Yeah.
every little detail that's occurring
Right.
because in logging, and Sue can back me up on this. Whenever you deal with IT and technology and time, if there's something out of sync, you see it out of sync inside of logging, ninety
Okay.
percent
Yeah,
of the time.
you just don't have the access to that. That could be anything from your client and the server stop talking for like half a second whenever you fired.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a server frame rate drop for half a moment and it didn't
Yep.
register the hit. It could be an object desync where the server didn't think the elevator doors were open yet,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it took your fire, but it put the shots to the elevator door because the timing of the elevator doors opening was different from your client to the server,
Okay.
which could have been a SOC issue. But without seeing the logs on your particular case,
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
But
it's probably
I
possible.
was just giving an example.
Gotcha.
No, that's a good example. That's so a server side object container issue would be like if I walked into the area and the buildings hadn't loaded in, but like AI was there, or and like there's boxes missing and stuff like that. That would be a server side object container issue because those are
Okay.
serialized items that stream in when I enter a level and it has to build the level out in front of me using their zone system.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I think
whereas,
it goes back towards what you were saying earlier, Payne, where like with the code is faulty, if
Mhm,
there's issues in it, it makes it harder to diagnose other issues because they start stacking up. Very similar to how Shadow said right there. Like,
yeah,
oh, this happened to me. Well, what was it? Was it decent? Was it server lag? Was it?
hmm
Well, all
absolutely,
three of
all over.
us had the same issue.
Right, which that could be server tick
Okay.
because Sox streams to independent players. So
Okay.
if it was a Sox issue, it's most likely if it's a client side affecting,
Yeah.
meaning that even though it streams to all three of you, your side doesn't pick it up. You wouldn't see the objects, but Tom would, or whoever Tom is.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then I think more or less what your issue might have been was just server tick. And for those in the world who don't know what tick is, tick is literally a second in time that forces a update from the server to everything, like a ping. Like I say hi and you say hi back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a simplification of it, but that's effectively what it is. In on all things IT have to be in sync and on time with each other all the time forever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get weird issues.
Okay.
How
Well,
many?
I mean, I'm glad that you explained it to me because now I know
Mhm.
what the issue was, and I
Here's how you can
appreciate
tell.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's how you tell you have a good server. When you log into it and you open tilde r underscore display info space
Yeah.
3
Yep.
and you see server tick rate and it's 15 or higher, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have a good server. If it's
Mm-hmm.
3, you're on a bad server.
Mm-hmm.
Guess where Star Citizen is at most of the time in 317, 5 and 4. Usually about 5.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas in 318, I've seen it hit 20, and it's like, oh my god, it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
beautiful game.
I've seen
It
that.
usually stays around 15 to 25 is where it usually stays at now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's
Which
fantastic.
which means the bad guys can see you better and bunkers are a hell of a lot harder.
That's
Right.
yeah, that's why the AI is much more intelligent, is because
Yes.
their their AI is firing, their logic's firing properly now,
Yeah.
and so they're harder to kill.
And I've seen that. I ain't gonna lie.
You know.
Anybody got any questions or comments? Please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will answer as best as we possibly can. So, are we good
Yeah.
with this subject?
Yeah, we are. I'm going to post into the chat Star Citizen Tools explanation on what all these technologies are. So that way, if you're curious and you want to get, you like, you're interested in like that stuff, like you're a dev or you're whatever, there you go. Go check it out. It's pretty cool stuff. Um, it's absolutely different from what you would expect with other game stuff. Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's so I don't have anything else on the subject, to be honest with you. I think that honestly, my message out to the world is let's just do good for each other, be better for each other, because at the end of the day, we all get frustrated, but we can all have fun. Like honestly, this game is a multiplayer game, and it's meant for multiple people in the same ship or a group of ships to play together.
And
That's
that's
just the
what
game.
it's all about. It's all
Can I
about.
cap off this topic?
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, bud.
So I didn't get to mention my thoughts on where I was on a lot of
Yeah.
these, like
Yeah.
saltiness level and such.
Yeah. Go.
Um, I'm not very salty at all. Uh, I'm a little disappointed on how slow it's happening. I'm a little disappointed on uh, communication. You know,
Majorly.
when there are delays, them telling us delays before we realize there's delays because we see the date has already gone past their statement. But other than that, I'm very happy for two main reasons. One, the game's already in a state where it's mostly playable, where I can have fun with my friends and make friends on it. And two, the gameplay I can get from it is unlike any gameplay I can get from any game on any other console, any other platform, or any other system, period. You can't get this experience anywhere else. And the fact of the matter is, what they're wanting to work towards, and I see them making actual progress towards, albeit slow, they are making progress. They're making progress towards a goal that ultimately I don't think could be achieved by any other means. And I believe they're honestly trying to achieve it.
Yeah.
So even though I've spent a lot of money on this project, uh, I'm very happy with the money I've spent on this project so far. Uh, for me to feel like I'd be salty and start hating CIG or regretting spending my money, I would have to see reasons why. I would have to see evidence to show that either they never meant to complete it in the first place, which I doubt. I really doubt it would be possible, or that they would at some point in time, while I'm still giving them money, they would show signs of just giving up on what they're working towards. Um, that's why whenever we have new guys in my group, we have new players. I say, if the game stops getting development tomorrow and we get no more new features, make sure you're happy with the money you spent, because that's not likely, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. No, I agree with that statement. That's a good statement. The money you spend, be happy with, because it could all go away tomorrow. And I spend the money because I really believe in this effort.
And a
Really do.
lot of people, I think a lot of the saltiness comes from people spending money thinking it's going to be out next year,
Yeah.
and getting their hopes up and getting sort of getting them bought into their own statements, maybe a misstatement by CIG, and taking that to heart, and then being
Yeah.
disappointed. Uh,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people, when I say that, people perceive it as, Zook saying, "Don't spend your money." It's like, well, it's not about my money. It's why are you telling me what to do with my money? I was like, I'm not. I'm saying make sure, for your own sake, for your own happiness, not for mine. You know, my happiness has nothing to do with you being happy or not. For your own happiness, make sure whenever you spend your money, you can be comfortable with it if the project fails. And for anybody who's watching, I'd give the same advice.
Absolutely, 100%. Right behind you on that one, brother.
Agreed.
Oh yeah. All right, let's set up our next topic. um, so
Cheating. I'm just kidding.
mining changes. So this last week's ISC, I think, was actually a pretty decent one. It talked
I
about
agree.
or yeah, actually there was two. There was actually both. Let's talk about ISC and SEL. So ISC mining changes. For those who missed it, summary is they're revamping how the mining works. Basically, like for example, in my opinion, a mole makes a difference now, because if you have a mole with three people, cracking heavier rocks is going to be much easier. Whereas if you're in a prospector, that's meant to be solo mined, and if you have three prospectors trying to do the same job as a mole, you won't be able to do it because the instability of that rock is much heavier or uh, more detrimental now. I think that's a good idea, and here's why: you can still change heads, you can still um, try to tackle it because it's now a challenge to you solo in a prospector. Three, it makes the mole useful as a multi-role ship, as a multi-crew ship, because
Which it
now you
was designed to be in the first place.
right. So this to me is a step forward for CIG. I think this is great. I'm glad the guys who did the mining went back and said, you know what, we could do better. Um, I know
Cause
that they're disappointed because nobody FPS mines.
yeah, but they were not gonna touch it, but they
Yeah,
said let's work on it, and
yeah,
that's a plus. That's a
it is.
plus.
The other thing they did is I think this was smart. They have two types of materials you can mine now: everywhere materials and isolated materials.
Hmm.
Don't know what they are. Oh, prices have been adjusted now. Don't forget that. So, for example, iron is now in the game. I did not know it was not in the game this whole time.
Right, right.
It's now in the game. So, iron is a very common material in space. So, every planet's core has iron, and therefore, um, it's reasonable to expect iron to be on most of the surfaces of every planet. And smaller the planet, the less iron. The bigger the planet, the more iron. That kind of thing. They did say that there's going to be zones for things like copper is going to be on Microtech, I think, and I forgot. I think iron's going to be more prevalent down in Crusader, which makes sense.
Aluminum,
Uh,
something like that.
aluminum,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Aluminum, which cool. That's awesome. That means that if you want to make money off of a particular mineral, you go to those locations. And now not everybody is swarming Yella for the same thing. Um, the other thing is they're introducing a FPS mineable. I forgot what they called it, but it's yellow. So now you have red, green, blue, and yellow
Yeah.
mineable. If you're going to,
Galigonite or something like that, or I can't
yeah,
remember the name.
it only appears in caves too, so you can't use a rocket to get it, and you can't use a ship to get it. So what you're going to want to do is if you're doing cave missions, like I made millions of credits just running assassination cave missions. And if I had a mining tool with me and run across one of those rocks, I'd grab one, put it in my backpack, and I would store it in my ship and just collect it over like a couple of weeks. Because could you imagine selling that and making money off of that? Like, geez Louise. It's almost
Yeah.
like that black.
Depends on how it depends on how much it's sold for, and
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things you're skipping over
That's,
that I think are the biggest part of it, the biggest takeaways for me. Uh, I don't mean to go ahead, go finish your thought
no,
though.
you're good, man. I'm just messing with you.
So so I got really excited watching this ISC.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can't remember
for
everything that went
for
involved.
for one, they said they're adjusting prices. Now
Yeah.
the question is, are they adjusting prices based on uh, quant, the
Mm,
background simulation piece, which is my likely thought process of now that they're separating the materials up to exclusive locations and having some of them at every location, they're going to start also. They could very easily the opposite side of that is automate or simulate the demand locations.
Hmm.
And that's all you need. You have the supply locations, you have the demand locations, and that's the only input you need for that quant background system simulation to work. And now you have proper trading lanes. You have proper trading environments
Yeah.
where not just mining, but mining can go into affect trading gameplay, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Well, let's say you're doing a trade mission, right? Oh, I have a trade mission. Let's say the whole sea, right? I have a trade mission to take cargo from this Arkell one to Microtech, Port Tresley. Well, it didn't fill in the whole sea, but I do have some uh, iron that needs to be sold, right? And it's had high demand over there at Microtech right now. Well, I include that as part of my cargo, and it's a sort of a two in one trade. Or I have somebody who's in my org wants to transfer their cargo to Microtech, and they don't have a large ship. Well, I can send out a message to my group and say, hey, if you want to load your cargo onto my ship, now's the time to now is the time to do it. I can carry it for you, right?
Yeah.
That kind of gameplay where you're having proper logistic trade orgs coming into play might be doable and viable in 319 with these changes,
Like
right?
especially with cargo refactor. Yeah.
Especially with the cargo refactor. And then on top of that, something they did mention in the video about iron is iron's supposed to be widely used for manufacturing and
Yeah.
making of things. Well, is that making of things as far as like we sell it to a station, the station makes something, or is that something that we're making? Is
Or
that
could be
another
both.
step in the direction of the same in the same vein as we're making the pyro multi tools like the Royal State
Crafting. Yeah.
crafting? Thank you, Shadow. I
Welcome.
appreciate that. So, is it a situation where we're now collecting iron to maybe sell to other orgs for crafting? Is that what they're trying to do in 319? They just haven't, but not sure it'll be ready for day one launch, so they're not talking about it. I mean, there's a whole lot of like tie-ons that a lot of these things that they mentioned, and not just that they mentioned it, but the way they mentioned it, right? Making of things. You know, when they say that, that's a very loaded statement. Why did they choose that particular set of words? Uh, that just made me super excited. Like I'm looking forward to these trade systems and these trade lanes so much that it got me excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am.
I we all know that in 317 they made some they implemented a small portion of quantum with the with quantum fuel, with repairs and things of that nature. So it's there. It's just minuscule. This is another step, and I
And it's
think
working.
yeah, it is. And now with these new this with iron because you need iron to make ships.
You need iron to do. Yeah, you're right. And you also need to do a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, and to repair ships and things of this nature. So this is another step towards what everybody's been waiting for.
Hmm.
Okay, it's not huge, but it's a step. So
Step by step.
yeah, this is I mean it's not big, it's not outrageously massive, but it's good. Gracias mia.
It's hot, okay? Very hot.
Oh, frío, frío.
Very hot.
Gracias mia. I'm just happy that that Tony Z is stepping in, and
Is
I
he?
would say this is a big step. I would challenge that. I would say this is
you think
pretty massive. This would
yeah, it is a massive step. I mean, it
I think this is them bringing Quant to almost, if not all of them, at least the mining supplies, right?
Yeah.
And if they bring it to the mine supplies, what's preventing them from bringing it to, say, AV equipment and more manufactured goods? It
Yeah.
wouldn't be hard to do.
Right.
And it happens to meet very well with the timing of them wanting to get the whole sea out, right? Of them saying their goal was to get the whole sea out. Well, what is the whole sea good for?
Yeah.
Large scale mass transit of cargo on main shipping lanes. So just that, just the those things combining at the same time says it tells me this is gonna be a massive step.
Mhm.
Okay. I can go along with that. Definitely.
Yes, Shadow, you must believe what I believe.
On the other side of that fence, it could simply just be database updates.
Well, also too,
It's
it's
true.
you and me in the SRV. So yeah, there we go.
I'm. Oh, I think the SRV will be out soon. I think it'll. Anyway, I'm not going to go on that subject.
No.
Anyway, um, but do we like the idea of materials being dedicated biomes? I know I do. I think it's smart.
I do, I do.
Yeah.
I think the way it's going to be set up now isn't permanent. I think ultimately you're going to have systems where some supplies are going to be more rich than
Yeah.
others, and this is just them basically doing the testing, getting the systems to work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think and that's part of why I think this is Quant is this is their test bed to see how we can break Quant, how we
Yep.
can maybe use and manipulate Quant.
Now, if I remember right, they did a run not too long ago, and I can't remember.
Well,
What was,
right now we have helium,
yeah.
hydrogen, no, helium, hydrogen, quantanium,
Oh, that's
quant
right.
for
Yeah.
fuel,
Yeah.
And
and
repairs.
and repair materials are all based on quant right now.
Yeah.
It's not a trial run; it's active right now.
Yeah.
That's
If
right.
you go
That's
to a
right.
station and get fuel, if you go to a station to get fuel near where Jumptown's going on at, fuel is expensive. If you go to Mike L1 during Zenith Threat, fuel is expensive because Quant is running in the background. But that's all that we're working on right now. But the fact of the matter is that system works, it functions,
Yeah.
right? So now that they have the supply side part of those materials being fixed in a very quant fashion, right? All you have to have is the demand side being fixed in a quant fashion as well, which they mentioned, right?
Yeah.
They mentioned both sides of it. So all that's left now is to let quant take over. It would be a very minor thing to do
Hmm.
to take that next step and let quant handle it.
Even
Uh,
if even if it was just the trading portion of Quant and not
yeah,
like the Law and Order side of Quant, like I would be
correct,
happy with it.
correct.
So okay, yeah, I had forgotten which one. Now I'm gonna bring another point here too to kind of trail off what you're saying. Is I want everybody to think about this for a second. We are having systems in the game now. When I started, we didn't have any of these systems in the game. When I started, you started at Port Olisar and you had what you had, and you had money to go get your stuff and go do your thing. But now we have systems that are waiting in game for other things to be done, such as um, master modes, such as Quant is in there ready to be used. So we haven't heard from Tony Z in a long time. I really hope we do here soon. I really hope that that highlight comes soon from him because we need to hear from him about this stuff.
Yes.
I, at least, even if it's just like, hey, it's out. That would be a golden pin for me.
I
I
got a
would love.
question.
Yeah.
In the ISC of the Server Meshing Summit, was Tony Z present? I'm just wondering. I thought I saw him in the summit, and that, if he was there, then it's coming.
I don't know. And well,
I don't know.
even if he wasn't, even if he wasn't, that doesn't mean it's not coming.
Yeah, I
right?
agree. I agree.
Just bear back. Sorry, guys.
Because
No
Continue
worries.
talking
because
about.
quant really isn't required for server meshing. Because
Okay.
clearly it's already happening, right?
Yes.
It's already there, right?
Yes.
So quant isn't required for server meshing to exist. It will be useful and it will be taken to the next level once it does exist, but it's not required. So um, I can see the logic you're pulling at. I just don't think it just quite requires it.
Okay. I mean, it was just a thought, you know, that it's there, that he's definitely involved with this because it is monumental, you know? And
I mean, over a year, really.
no, I missed what you said. Sorry.
We haven't really heard from him in over a year.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're sitting there saying, where's Tony Z out? What's he saying? What's going on? And I don't think Tony Z is over there taking an extended vacation for an
No.
entire year.
No.
I think he's been working on that background sim. I think he's been making progress. He just hasn't been he just hasn't been had a chance to talk about what it he's we were he was working on because so much of what they've been talking about is been in 318 and 319 and I think once which I think is good once 318 is out the door officially I think that's when they're going to start ramping up more details about 319 and I like the fact that they're saying when it comes to 319 that they're saying, hey, this is content we're very sure we can get out for 319.
Yeah.
And here it is. Now we're going to talk about it. This
Okay.
is more content. So it would not surprise me in, say, a month that once 318's out, assuming it's out in a month, you know, uh,
Knock on wood.
yeah, knock on
Out
wood,
next week.
exactly, that once it's out, that we may see a Tony Z coming out on a ISC, right? And talking about, hey, we're bringing quant to supplies now, or we're doing blah, 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 we're doing this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. And obviously, they're probably working on it. The question is, can they get it out for 319?
Well,
And
Yeah.
I
and
I
I think mining was, I think fixing mining. What my gut tells me is they were trying to get it out, and part of getting it out was getting the supply side fixed because the mining was largely still broken.
oh, excuse me.
And they said fix mining, and they fixed mining now. I think this will largely fix the supply side piece of that, and they can move on.
I would love to see an SEO with Tony Z. Just him for an hour. That's it.
You
And take
realize how technical that would be?
Oh my god.
Are you sure about that? I mean, I would love to see it, and I know Payne would, but
Yeah.
like that's I don't know if you or Joe would be like, I would.
I think your brains would melt like halfway through because it's
Well,
just
you
it'd
know,
make me
My
good.
brain would almost melt.
you
Yeah,
Yeah.
know, I'm just saying because it's a long time coming, and that's something that needs to be embellished on. You know, just my thought.
I know the video he posted. I know the video that Tony posted at CitizenCon a few years back, first talking about Quant and how they wanted to do it. I had to watch it 4 times in a row just to really understand it
I I
properly.
did. I watched it 3 or 4 times just to get an idea of what he was talking about.
That guy's on a whole other level, man.
Seriously. Okay, I'm good on this one.
Cool. So Star Citizen Live was about the new River Tech coming out. It's not new River Tech, Polish Tech, and the I forgot what it was about. Who wants to
It was the
refresh the?
River Tech Q&A or quality assurance.
I got you. Okay. I think it was a good one to watch. I have to go back and rewatch it because I missed quite a bit out of it. But I
Yeah, me
remember,
too.
I remember I think the takeaway I took away from it was basically how important QA is to games. And as as a game dev, I'm grateful to have a QA guy who actually says, "No, this isn't right. Go fix it, you pleb." I'm glad we have those people because if we don't, you have a crappy game. Honestly, you if you develop a game and you don't have nobody to test it and tell you the truth about it. I think that's what a lot of people miss nowadays. I saw this in the music industry. Nobody tells you the truth if it's bad. They tell you the truth and lie to you that it's good. So QA is important, and from what I've seen in the new River Tech, and the guy who did River Tech to design the tools to make it, brilliant kid. Like I, it blew my mind to see what genius came out of that guy's mind, and I look so forward to what his tools bring to the universe. Because I honestly think that his tech's going to be used for roads. It's going to be used for other things that use splines, basically. So I'm excited. Like trade lanes, like the space trade lanes, we may have big ass trade lanes that will fly through because this guy made a spline, the tool to make the spline for the trade lane to exist. So I'm excited. I'm real happy with the guy with what he's done. So that's all I remember from that. But what do you guys think?
I if if you're not really interested in getting to know more of the technical nitty gritty of the game, you could probably skip that one. Uh, I enjoyed it, but there wasn't much new information on there. That was
Yeah,
very much a meet the developer, learn about their experience, learn about the Q&A guys' experience, get to know them, which is nice, right? Which is really really nice. But we didn't get any gameplay features or things that are coming out or hints or we didn't get much of that. That's not bad, mind you. It's just the fact of what it was. Um, uh, we saw, yeah, that's really about it.
yeah.
For the purposes of our conversation, there wasn't really much to add there
Yeah.
for me.
Okay, sure. Shad, what you got?
I I watched. I didn't watch it. I was listening. Okay, and I really need to go back and watch the whole thing. But from what I heard, just like Mike said, he's a genius. You know, when eventually when we get Pyro and the tech that he's going to use to create the lava flows and all that type of stuff, and definitely what Mike said, this guy's going to create the roads that we've been waiting for. So I'm happy with what he's done, and I can't wait to see what else comes up. So I was happy with what I listened to, and I'm gonna go back and watch the whole thing. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but um, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Cool. All right. So last topic of the night is the state of the PTU. So this last 2 weeks has been interesting. I mean, obviously the PTU 318 Wave 3's in PTU has been out. Is what since October? It has been since Evocati.
Um,
Yeah, I want to say it's October, early November, maybe.
it was late November,
Late November,
and then they
Okay.
dropped it for Wave One in December.
Okay.
December.
Okay, and then Wave 3 just started this last month, and then we're.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this is the one time I have seen CIG drop so many patches in the last 3 weeks to fix things. I have never seen them work so hard. At least visually, like seeing like
That's true.
actually drop patches.
And you're seeing the progress too. Was the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the big thing I wanted to say. The first part is how is it looking, and it's looking better than it did a month ago. 100%.
Oh,
I mean,
you're
I
talking to
mean,
one that's been in it every day.
yeah, it's a last from what I've seen in videos, from what I've seen from the salt mine of Spectrum and my friends, it's better. I'm of the understanding that early last week, 30Ks were once an hour for everybody,
Yes. The
and
reason
now
why
they're
that
much less.
was, I'm just gonna say I wasn't in when that happened, but there
Yeah.
was a PTU outage,
Hmm.
and that created a lot of the 30K problems. But
Yeah. Sure.
CIG jumped on that in a heartbeat, and they fixed it, and
Yeah.
it was clear
There was patches every day, wasn't there?
practically. And I'm gonna
I'm o-
say this. I'm gonna say this. In the time that I've been playing and working in the PTU, especially in the past, say, month, I've had two 30Ks. Two.
There you go.
And one was because I was doing something and I got kicked out for inactivity. The
Okay.
other was I had to crash the desktop, and then another was an actual system crash, server
Okay.
crash. But other than that, stability has been phenomenal.
Now this, I would have to. My experience has been a little bit different. Over the
Okay,
weekend, I had several 30Ks.
just
Um,
recently.
yeah, like over this past weekend, I've had several 30Ks.
Okay,
It feels like they're trying to fix something and they broke something while they're trying to fix something else, which is
okay,
part of
Yes.
the process, right?
That's
yeah,
how it works. Yeah.
yeah,
That's how it works. And the whole like movie glass, your mouse is kind of disappearing sometimes. It click
yeah,
doesn't take.
yeah,
That was kind of weird as well. Uh, Again, they're working on it. You can tell every single time there's a patch, there's something that's been better. Sometimes something's worse, but there's work being put into it, and there's a lot of patches coming out consistently.
yes.
Uh, and I think they're making progress. Again, is it going to be out in February? I don't know. Is it going to be out in March? I don't know. Uh, I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is, well, two main reasons. One, and the most important piece is we're probably going to be living with the 318 branch for a while. I would like it to be very clean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I.
two, the biggest thing is aside from that is PES, as I mentioned earlier. This is final code, so time spent bug fixing PES right now is time well spent. It's
Agreed.
time spent they won't have to spend later. As Payne mentioned before, it'll make it easier for them to troubleshoot server meshing when that comes around the bend. Uh, so literally, I don't mind taking more time. They said from day one this is going to be at least a 3 month PTU phase, right? And if
At
it
least.
came out, yeah, that's what they said in the letter back in last summer, right?
Yep.
We thought it was gonna be, September, November, October, November, December. Uh, we were wrong, but it's still probably gonna be at least 3 months, if not more, PTU cycle. Uh, so welcome to the PTU cycle that they predicted
Yeah.
last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that leads up to the next question: predictions for deployment. This is a fun topic. We may be right, we may be wrong. So predictions are: I do think I'm going to be optimistic today. I'm going to say within the next 2 weeks we may have an idea of when it's going to be deployed.
Prediction.
Uh,
That's a prediction when you can have a prediction.
yeah. No. Um, I do think this next month we'll probably see it within. I don't think it'll be next week. I see it being the third week of this coming month, of being most likely when it'll deploy at the earliest, and that's my prediction. Third week of this upcoming month, and I'll be happy with that. I mean, this is
Well,
a good patch.
it is. Uh, we were supposed to hit. Okay, everybody was kind of predicting the end of this month. I don't see it. I don't see it until March now.
Which do you got a week you want to pin it to?
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go that route. I'm just saying March because there's still a lot of blockers that are major that they need to iron out, and I'm gonna say this: a lot of people are going to be flying C2s. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if the C2 can't land at Area 18 without crashing the system, without crashing to desktop, it ain't. It's not gonna drop.
Yeah,
It's not gonna drop.
trams need to work too.
Oh, well, the silent
They've
assassin
already
strike again. Okay.
they've already said that the trans is going to be a blocker. They've already said that it has those have to work before live.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did. I'm glad. I hope elevators are permanently fixed. I know they're not, but you know.
They've been doing a lot better.
Yeah, I have. I can say that since 317 two or three.
Well,
Whenever what was it? Whenever Siege of Orson dropped for the second time, I think
yeah.
it was really bad, and then the third time it dropped, it was really good.
Yeah. Siege of Orson for January.
Mm-hmm.
I played it, and the elevators were working a whole lot better compared to what they were when it first dropped. It was horrendous because you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get out of the hospital, things like that. So I'm going to state that when I was in for January Siege of Orson event, it was good. A whole lot better. So,
He's trying to look cute.
um, but they do need to work on the elevator issue. Uh, but it has gotten better than what it was. Go ahead, Zook. You got something on your mind. Say it.
I I don't think the elevators are that big of an issue anymore. I mean, comes from the days where Grim Hex elevator kept getting fixed over and over and over again,
Mm,
and it was just temporary. I think a lot of that comes to us paying mentioned earlier, SOC and PES going
yeah,
from one location to another.
yeah.
Uh, and I think for the most part, it's largely fixed. I haven't had an issue with elevators in a long time.
Yeah. I mean,
We're still having issues with trams. We're still having issues with a lot of things.
yeah.
Uh, and some of that may be the fact that some of it may be the fact that because the doors are closed and you have no reference to them, they may still be vibrating. You just don't see it because you're inside of it.
Well,
Whereas on the trams, it's very easy to see because you can see outside of the trams. That might be one of those situations. But beyond that, yeah,
Son of a bitch.
I haven't had a big
Um,
of an issue with elevators.
so there's in Unreal. It's called. It's not called. It's Oh, I forgot what it's called. I'm sorry. Basically, it's transport nerds, transport physics. What it's called in Unreal, and so it's a similar. It'll be. I don't know what it'll be called in Star Engine, but what it is let's say you're playing pinball video game and you're moving the ball. The physics from the platform tells the ball how to react to it as it turns. And so one known bug is that if you don't clamp the values of the physics, it will launch your ball into the sky and you'll never see it again. And so I've noticed that there's a good possibility that when the the silent killer of the elevator slapping you around, I don't know if you guys seen that, where it'll go like that. It's because it's bumped into something, or it's hit another elevator, or it's hit you, and now the transport physics or transient physics, it doesn't clamp the value, but lets it do it infinitely, and that causes damage over time because it's a physical object smacking your character. And with physical objects smack characters in Star Citizen, you take damage. Like if you're floating through space and a ship goes,
Or you're floating through space and you land on a pad.
yeah, you land on a back clunk. Yeah, so that's a possibility. I feel like that's really what the issue is, and there were things probably re-enabling that transient physics over time. Here's the catch 22: you have to have them turned on because how do you think the floor works? The floor is a platform. It has to transport the physics between the two points, the object and the entities, so you can walk across it. And so the box has to exist for you to move with it. So something's causing it to accelerate its velocity intensely. It's a space elevator. Who knows what the hell it is? Could be smacking a AI. It could be smacking the side of the. It could be smacking something while it's transporting you. Who knows? But um, that was actually one of my lessons because I'm re-upping my Unreal information knowledge database, here. And one of the lessons we had recently was specifically about physics, and it was just like, hey, watch this. Wiggle your mouse real hard. Bye ball.
Hmm.
So
Well,
Yep.
I'm very
Go ahead.
pleased with the progress that they've made so far with 318 because day one when it hit wave one, it was a train wreck. It was horrible. And they threw out hotfix after hotfix and patch after patch. And it has gotten so much better from what we had when they took it out of Evocati. So I'm more than pleased. There's still some issues that they need to take care of, but as far as stability for me that I've had, I've been in there 3 or 4 hours, and I've not had a 30K. I'm just knocking.
he's just gonna say it, guys.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it.
But yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm excited for it to hit PU because I got friends who don't have PTU access
Yeah,
and they want to try it. So it's
yeah.
like,
I've got a lot of people that want to get in so bad that
Y'all do realize
they're
it's open
waiting.
to everyone now, right?
I
Yeah,
tell them that, but they don't
yeah.
listen.
They
Okay.
they they want to wait till the PU. I mean,
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, here's the thing. I, for the longest time, I was that player. I largely waited to the PU. So I get that mentality. It just for me, 317 was such hot garbage.
Yes.
And that even with the PTU being in the state that it's in, with its bugs that it has, it's
hmm
still better than the 317 live. That I have literally like, it is dead to me. I don't care. I am normally a player that plays in the PU. I don't really play the PTU much. I'll come back and I'll get you when it goes live. But because the current live is so bad, and with the PTU as bad as it is, still better. I've played almost everyone I know who plays in the PTU.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I'm all good. I can't complain. I mean, there's some things that we know they need to take care of, but I'm pretty pleased with what has been going on with it at this point.
Yeah.
My crystal ball says March 8th.
March 8th. Okay.
I'm not giving any dates, just March.
It's
Just
March
March.
8th, I think the third week of March, and Shadow says yes.
Yeah.
All
So,
right. Well, if there's anybody in the chat that wants to shoot out a question, please feel free. We'll hang on for about a few more minutes.
yeah.
I got my
While
food.
we wait for questions, a little small topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to mention.
What's up?
I think did y'all. I'm assuming did y'all see the Avenger One's video on the
Yes.
conspiracy to?
Yes.
I thought that was just so irresponsible. Like I legitimately like it was an interesting video. It was an interesting like documentary. A lot of production value into that. They made a good video,
Yeah.
but the call at the end of it, right, where it's like, well, as a community, we have to do something. I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to every single time someone I think someone's cheating? Do you want me to make a post on the Discord or on Reddit or on Spectrum that this person's a cheater? Like I don't know that. As we said before, it's like that could have been a server lag spike. That could have been an issue on my client. It could have been a bug. It could have been a legitimate part of the game right now that's just being taken advantage of. That's built into the code. That's just like a you know uh, that's the code working properly, just not doing what was they were intended or what you thought was being intended. Like if the game was full release, I could probably get behind that sentiment. But with the game the way it is now, as buggy as it is, I mean, I thought the drama was uncalled for, and I feel like that all that's going to do is going to get people looking at other people the same way Avenger One was other people, as like, are you a potential cheater or not? And I didn't like that.
I This is gonna sound conspiracy like, but I think that it was a video that he made up for production, for the view.
Really? Okay.
I watched a bit of it. I didn't watch it all. And I think because this is how the people operate like this, they will create drama to get their point across. Are there cheaters in Star Citizen? Yeah, I have seen one. One.
That you're aware of. That's the big thing.
Yeah, that I'm aware of and that I could recognize, and it was obvious. It was, but ever since then, it's not been anything. And that was after they implemented Easy Anti-Cheat. And Easy Anti-Cheat's not a good program by any definition. For the game world, I know people use it or Denuvo or whatever, but it doesn't. It works, but it doesn't at the same time. However, I do think he went over the top. I agree with you 100%. I think it was way out. Like, it's okay to say, let's pay attention and be careful of this. But I feel like he was being dramatic to be dramatic. That's what I mean by staging it. Like, not staging it as he's faking the cheating. I think he's staging it as to bring drama about to get views for his channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
I
That's how I feel about it.
There's a thought process that I had that I'm not convinced of.
Okay.
And that I'm not absolutely convinced of this myself, but it felt like he was making this video to do two things. One, to justify his reaction, calling the other person a cheater from the drama beforehand, right? So he was trying to retroactively put up a defense saying, look, I was wrong, but I had like reason to be wrong. Or I was, that was like, and even to some
extent, the way I reacted.
Yeah. And the fact that one of the biggest things he implied in the video is him doing that stirred up the cheating hornet's nest. So even though I was wrong, I was still legitimate in some way I just haven't figured it out yet. I was like, that still doesn't feel right, right? And then two, I feel like if not intentionally, maybe accidentally, trying to make people, everybody else, try to view Star Citizen the way he views it as, is this person a cheater? Is this person messing with me? Is this person doing this, that, and the other? So that when everyone else sees whenever he makes a call that says someone's a cheater, that they'll be more inclined to believe him, even though he's got it wrong in the past. And I think the best thing he could do is say, look, cheating, it does happen. Uh, the drama that doesn't help that situation. Uh, and he needs to just drop it.
Yeah.
He just needs to drop it. And if you see cheating, okay, cool. I think because his problem came from he says that was cheating. He should have said that feels kind of wonky. Let me report to CIG, right? Because ultimately, regardless of what we as community say or do or want to do, there's nothing we can do. The
Yeah.
only thing we can do is report to the developers, the people who have control over the servers, and say, hey, uh, CIG, I think this is cheating. Here's a video, here's a date stamp, here's whatever you want to include with it. I think this was cheating. This was the player that was doing it. Because the only defense we have is if CIG puts in the proper checks, likely server side, to when someone says, I have infinite ammo, the server says, no, you don't, right? And if they do say that, to ban them. And we have to rely on CIG to put out this fire. There's nothing the community can do other than report. And if we do anything more than that, it's just going to tear the community apart. I think, and that's why I specifically use the word irresponsible.
I think that's fair. I think you're fair in saying that. Would you stop? You're not getting anything.
Can't make me stop. I'm sorry.
Spoiled brat. These
Which
two.
obviously I am, but
Nah, my two pups are spoiled. We buy them once in a week. We'll buy them a cheeseburger.
Um,
well, I don't see any questions coming in. Uh,
I don't either.
no.
But Shadow is gonna probably drop some shadow knowledge.
Um, on that, I I can't say because who knows? Who knows? If you're that intent on looking for it, you're gonna find something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
It's not. Go ahead. I'm so sorry. I
no,
apologize.
no, you're fine. Um, Avenger One, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but if he gets bested, he throws that out there. I've heard it. So I don't know. I can't say anything about
I,
it.
I I wouldn't go as far as every single time he loses,
Well, not every single
he
time.
says it.
I'm not
He gets
saying
he
every
gets that
single
mad.
time. He
He gets
does
that
get
upset.
upset. He does. And I'm not knocking the man. I'm not knocking him. Disclaimer, I am not knocking the man. Okay? He's good. He's good at what he does, but there are times when he's been bested. I've I've heard that he throws that out there.
How many times in like it reminds me of when I was a kid because if I called him anything, it'd be pot kettle black, right? Be pot calling me kettle black. If I was to reflectively, I look at myself when I was younger and when I played video games like Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and when you're in the water temple and getting bested by that thing from the abyss. I can't remember what the hell it was called. The eyeball in the goo water. How many times I got mad, or how many times did Ganondorf out fight me and I got mad and called it a cheater? You know, like we all get there. We all get upset at something that we're struggling really hard to do our best
Yeah.
at.
Sure.
The difference for me, and I don't think he calls doubting people cheaters. I don't think that's the issue here. I think the issue is he's playing up the drama and encouraging other people to play up the drama.
Yep.
And that's what I'm concerned with. Like, oh, you think someone's cheating? Cool. Report them. Record the videos and CIG, go for it. My thing is, you don't need this extra drama. And I think the drama's there to either save face or to spool up views. And
Well,
I don't like it.
yeah.
See, I can sit here and say all day long, next week I'm going to tell the world why Shadow is a cheater.
Mhm.
Come back next week for the details. I could do that. That kind of feels like what he's doing to me. And that may get you views, but that doesn't work. That doesn't help the community.
No. And that's why I don't get into that and never will. So it's
I figured this would be a short topic.
yeah,
That's why.
yeah. But you're right. I don't get into it. I like I said, I watched 5 minutes of it and shut it off. Okay, that's my take on
I
it.
should have. I should have.
And,
Yeah,
I'm jealous of you.
And
How dare you have short attention?
when CIG makes their determination on things, that's what's going to happen. So, plain and simple as that. As far as I'm concerned, the subject's closed. Not between us, but I don't grace that video at all. So
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, I haven't seen no questions come in tonight. That's
No.
okay. I guess if everybody's cool with it, we're done for the evening.
I'm good to go.
Join us next week where we can disappoint you even more.
And here, why
Uh,
Shadow Spectre's a cheater.
Oh my God!
He's, Teddy is getting upsetty spaghetti.
Yeah, see what you did.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm
at
good
least
to go.
Shadow has the awesome. Well, Shadow has the bare necessities, and we're out.
Have a good one,
I got
everybody.
this.
Take care.
See you in the verse.
All right.